Judy Rutherford knows the worst of racism. This is the first time beyond her inner circle she has told her full story of what happened to her family.
Nashville, 1960.
The black student sit-ins at the Woolworths counter. She was there, and they burned a braid of her hair. White counter protesters set her hair on fire.
I don't know how long we sat, but there was an angry crowd outside we could hear. And at some point, they all came in at the same time. And they were jeering and racial slurs, and there was some spitting. And we all sat very quietly. No one moved. And at some point, someone behind me lit his cigarette lighter. At that time, I was either wearing the braid or a ponytail. I can't remember which one, but he set the bottom of my braid on fire. I didn't know this. The person sitting next to me said, "Your hair is burning," and he started to put my hair out, and then that's when I moved, and we got in a tussle. There was a lot going on. I don't know. The only end result I know is that we were all arrested, especially I was, for disturbing the peace, even though this guy had assaulted me and others. I was not the only one, but I was the only one that was, quote, set on fire. That was unnerving.
You say your anger took over your fear, but what were your fears during the sit-ins?
My fears were being killed, because back to my arrest when I was in high school, finished high school, I found out that in my town, police officers would take young black girls and rape them and then kill them. No one would hear from them ever again.
At the end of high school, Judy was arrested in her hometown of Columbus, Georgia, after she walked home from a nearby hair salon.
It had nothing to do with civil rights. It had to do with racism. It was a Saturday, and my parents had allowed me to walk 1 block to get my hair done. Now, it's important that I say that my parents allowed me to walk, because they never allowed me to walk anywhere. I was driven because they were afraid of white people and what they did to black people in my city. So this time, I'm graduating from high school, I'm getting ready to go away to college. The lady that's gonna do my hair is just 1 block away. Why can't I walk? Okay, they let me walk. I leave there, and as I come out, I see a police car parked, and no big deal. I proceed to walk home, and the police car follows me. And as I get half a block from my house, this police car turns around and parks. I'm still walking. And the police person in the car said something, and I didn't hear what they said, but I wasn't going to stop to find out, because I don't want anything to do with you. I don't know you, you don't know me. I need to get home. And he said, "You heard me, nigga." I knew then, okay, I got to get home, because I knew my dad was home. My mom was an RN, so she was at work. I knew Daddy was home. And when I didn't stop, he got out of his car and grabbed me and said, "You heard me, nigga, talking to you." And I said, said something smart, I know. Why would you be talking to me? He said, "Oh, you one of them smart niggas." They locked me up, and I never moved from the bars. Now, I've never been in jail and haven't been back since, but other than when I was in college for the sit-ins. But I never sat down, I just stood at the bars. I don't know how long I stood. I thought it was forever, but I heard my dad's voice, and I knew I was all right then. And then they came and got me. Someone had called Daddy and told him, I just saw them throw Judy in a police car. and that's why he came down. My dad asked them what the charges were, and they were soliciting for prostitution and transporting moonshine. So in some way, I was lucky that he took me to the police station. Well, he took me to the police station because there were so many witnesses, I think. Nobody told me that. But everyone says, thank God he took her, because if he had just driven off, we never would have seen her again.
Judy, you grew up knowing that your family had a very painful past. Tell us about losing your brother.
When I was 5, my mom was sick. Well, she was sick because the ambulance came to get her, to take her, and she told me she was going to get the baby. I knew a baby was coming and that I was going to have a brother or a sister. But I couldn't understand why she had to go in an ambulance. And my grandmother said, because she's sick and we want to make sure that the baby is safe, telling me all kinds of things, and I'm getting so excited that I'm going to have a brother or a sister. And I didn't get a brother or a sister because this was in 1945, and in 1945 in Columbus, Georgia, babies were not given oxygen. And my mother's baby, my little brother, was born needing oxygen, and that was not allowed, so they'd let that baby die.
They let the baby die because the baby was black.
Yes, white babies were given oxygen, but they'd let this baby die because he was black. And I'm told that friends of my mom was a nurse at that point. She was already an RN, and that was her hospital. That's where she worked. And her friends were trying to get the hospital administrator on the phone to tell him this is Catherine's baby. And by the time they got him on the phone, it was too late.
Like I'm almost gone. Judy says her grandfather was the victim of police brutality.
My grandfather had me reading Socrates when I was in the 6th grade. And he told me when he comes back, because he traveled, he was a brick mason, so he was gone a lot. And he told me, here, read this. And when I come back, I'm going to quiz you on it. And that summer, I read Socrates because I knew when he came back, he was going to quiz me on it. And one particular night, he was a smart man, but they beat him so badly, they beat his eyeballs out of the socket and threw him up on the porch, on our porch. When I went to the hospital to see him, he was in an iron lung. That is the most horrendous thing I have ever seen in my life. And he did not survive. And no one looked, the police officers were not punished. No one even looked for which police officer did it. We just know that police neighbors said, he said something smart to one of the white police officers, and they literally beat him to death and then threw him up on our porch.
How has your faith been through this journey, through this civil rights journey? How has faith played a part in this? And more in particular, how has the Episcopal Church played a part in this journey of redemption and civil rights in your life?
My faith has brought me through. If it were not for my faith, I probably would still be a very angry young woman, and that's all.
Judy became an Episcopalian as a teenager when churches in the South were segregated. Can you tell us what do you think about the Episcopal Church now and the fact that we have a black bishop, Bishop Curry, who's the head of the Episcopal Church in America? What changes have you seen in our Episcopal Church during your tenure?
That was so unbelievable. I think I probably thought, I know you've heard people say this before, that I had died and gone to heaven when I found out that we had a black man as the head of all the Episcopal churches. It's time. It was about time. And some of the innovative things he has brought, oh, you can see it in the church. I think you can feel it in the church. I am so glad he's here. I worry about him because he's trying to do so much, and looks like he's in so many places that you don't want to wear him out. But we have a task force here, and we would not be there if it were not for Bishop Curry. Bishop Curry recognizes the strife that black people have had in the church.
Judy and her daughter Joy are both active members of the Racial Justice Task Force at the Washington National Cathedral and in the Cathedral congregation. Judy thinks the Cathedral has come a long way toward healing racism since she first walked in the doors here to attend a lunch in the early 1990s.
There were ladies who were serving, and what caught my attention was all these ladies were black. They had on little white hats, something, and white aprons, just the front. And it reminded me so much of slavery right here in this church that I just could not believe it.
Judy, what is your greatest hope for race reconciliation now?
That we can all see each other as children of God, equal children of God. My God doesn't love me any more than your God loves you. As long as, if we can come together and understand that, we are together. If we can remember, that it's not easy, it wasn't easy for some people, that there have been struggles. And there will always be struggles, but we don't give up. But I think if we can look at each other as brothers and sisters, show me that you see me as your sister.